Back everyone. Let's go ahead and do a quick little comparison between an iPhone 13 and an iPhone 7 and see which one you should go and pick up, or even if it's worth the upgrade. Now, I'll definitely tell you, if you have all the money in the world, please get the iPhone 13. That is the much better option. The iPhone 7 is still supported with software, and if you want to pick up either one of these phones, I'll probably leave an iPhone 12 and 11 and 13 link down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see slight differences for sure. The iPhone 7 has that 4.7-inch IPS panel on the front, and the thing that dates it the most is the bezel. The panel itself isn't horrible, but the bezel is pretty bad with that home button. The iPhone 13, on the other hand, has that 6.1-inch OLED panel. Beautiful, beautiful display, smaller notch than its predecessor, and definitely when you look at both of them, the iPhone 13 looks far more better than the iPhone 7 without a doubt. In terms of thinness and thickness between the two, I think the iPhone 13 is definitely thicker, but the kind of feel kind of good. Like, I don't really think you're going to feel the thickness a crazy amount. Of course, the 7 is a little bit thinner, but I think even the size, they kind of feel like the same size, which is pretty interesting. I was expecting the iPhone 13 to feel much bigger, and it has been a minute since I compared these two sizes, and I do think the 13 and the 7 kind of feel the same, but the 7 is smaller. On the back, aluminum back on the iPhone 7, single camera setup, no wireless charging on the iPhone 7, but you do get IP certification. The iPhone 13, on the other hand, glass back, wireless charging, MagSafe capability, and that dual camera setup. Like I mentioned, you do have, IP certification on both, lightning ports at the bottom, power button on the side, and that pretty much covers it up on the outside as always. Now, like I mentioned, a really cool thing between both is that they are on iOS 15. So both of these are on iOS 15 right now, which is great. I like seeing that type of stuff. But how much longer is the iPhone 13 going to last? Well, this is probably one of the bigger differences, probably not the biggest difference, but the longevity between these two. The iPhone 7 came out in 2016, so it's not like it's going to be outdated tomorrow, but it's going to be outdated within a couple of, within like a year or two from now. It may get iOS 16, it may not. We really don't know as of this point, but that is a pretty big thing to keep in mind. With the iPhone 13, literally just came out, so this thing's going to be supported for many, many more years, and you're going to be getting a much longer supported phone on the iPhone 13 than on the iPhone 7. So without a doubt, that is one of the biggest things to keep in mind. And that pretty much covers it up in the longevity standpoint. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these iPhones. The iPhone 7 has that Apple A10 Fusion chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, as you guys can see. So let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And almost the same thing, but the iPhone 13 was definitely more smoother. Let's do music, 3, 2, 1. And they were on different panels, but the iPhone 7 loaded up that one a little bit faster there, surprisingly. App Stores, 3, 2, 1. We do have a network connection problem here, so we'll just kind of let this one go. Settings, 3, 2, 1. Surprisingly, almost the same. That was actually pretty surprising. I was expecting more of a difference. Clock, 3, 2, 1. And for some reason it opened on the iPhone 7. And one thing I want to let you guys know is you're going to be able to tell over the camera more so than I am, from this angle. So do keep that in mind. Mail, 3, 2, 1. And again, the iPhone 13 was the faster one here, as expected. Camera, 3, 2, 1. I think the iPhone 13 was faster there too. Photos, 3, 2, 1. And I do think the iPhone 13 was faster there as well. And that pretty much covers it up on this page. Now, I do have a bunch of these third-party apps, at least I thought so. I guess I don't have that many. We can try Real Racing 3, 3, 2, 1. Now, this game may require network connection here and there. I hope it doesn't require it on the iPhone 7, but I guess we'll see. But, I mean, even to get into the game itself looks to be probably faster on the iPhone 13. And we did get into the game faster on the iPhone 13. With the iPhone 7, I'm unsure if we're going to get into a download panel, but we would have already been there by now on that next phase on the iPhone 13, where the 7 is still pretty much behind. And this is a pretty big difference. I don't know if I want to stay here for that much longer, but you can definitely tell that the iPhone 7 is still loading because of that little circle right there. But this is a massive difference. There we go. We finally get into the next panel. And I'm going to tell you, if you're planning on playing any heavy games or anything like that, you were going to be getting a look how big of a difference that was. I didn't think that there was going to be this big of a difference, but for even a game like this, which is graphically intensive, that was a massive difference. That was like 30, 40 seconds just of waiting. This one was already past that display. So that is a pretty big difference between the two without a doubt. Now we can try another big game. like Nova Legacy, which I think I have here. So let's try it. 3, 2, 1. Now, for some reason, I guess it didn't want to open on the iPhone 7, so we'll try it again. Nova Legacy again. 3, 2, 1. So both had already opened, so it's pretty much at the same spot. The 13 is fully loaded as of this point. It was almost instantaneous. And the iPhone 7 definitely taking its time. So, I mean, I don't want to take 40 minutes to do the speed comparison, but this is a pretty gnarly difference I'm seeing between these two. And this makes me think that for these minor applications, things like, clock, photos, music, even Snapchat and Instagram, these types of applications probably aren't going to take too long. But for bigger apps, such as Nova, Real Racing 3, if you're planning on doing any like, Need for Speed, Call of Duty games on your specific iPhones, PUBG even, you're probably going to be getting much faster speeds on the iPhone 13 than on older generation of iPhones, including this iPhone 7. So, I mean, I don't want to take the whole entire time to just do this one application, but this is a massive difference without a doubt. This is one of the biggest differences I've ever seen. So we can try Fruit Ninja as well. 3, 2, 1. Hopefully this one doesn't take as long, but there could be some network issues on both, so we'll just wait until they get into this panel. And even then, it was faster on the iPhone 13 as well. We're fully loaded, so the 7, like I mentioned, has a network connection problem, so we'll let that one slide. We can try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully this one doesn't take a very long amount of time too, but there's a big chance it might. And actually, the iPhone 7 loaded this one up faster, surprisingly. I have no idea why that happened, but I mean, it's pretty crazy that the iPhone 7 was that much slower for the other applications than the iPhone 13. That was definitely crazy. So in terms of this application, that pretty much covers it up here. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. Now on the back, like I mentioned, dual camera setup on the back of the iPhone 13, a wide angle lens and an ultra wide sensor. The iPhone 7 has that single wide angle lens, and both are great. You can do 4K at 30 on the back of the iPhone 7, but you can do 4K at 60 on the back of the iPhone 13. But on top of that, only 1080p on the front of the 7. You can do 4K at 60 on the front of the iPhone 13, which is very impressive. Now, in terms of the UIs on both, you can pretty much get the sense that they're almost identically the same thing, even between these two generations. You do not have portrait mode on the iPhone 7, and you also do not have cinematic mode, which is this new feature on the iPhone 13s. So it essentially brings this cool little feature of, it's like portrait mode for video, which is really cool, and I do like it a lot. So if you're ever planning on doing a lot of high professional video on your iPhone, the 13 is definitely the better option. Now with the iPhone 7, when this phone first came out, it was probably very solid. It was probably one of the best cameras of that year. Unfortunately, nowadays it is pretty grainy, and that's just kind of what happens. Camera modules degrade over time. They get dusty, they crack, they whatever. They just deteriorate. Same thing with the camera itself. I mean, you don't have 4K at 60 in any resolution on the front or the back, which does kind of suck a little bit. But it is still a pretty decent camera, and I think if you're somebody who needs to use a phone camera, this is a pretty solid phone, and I'm still pretty happy about this camera. Now with the iPhone 13, this is probably the best camera this year. The 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max are better, but this is still a very solid lens. You have that ultra-wide sensor, which is beautiful. You have that camera where you can zoom in a lot, but you don't have a telephoto lens, but this is still a very solid lens. And without a doubt, if you're somebody who wants to, have an iPhone, for the camera and have the best camera they can get, this is probably one of the best iPhones you have in terms of that. So in terms of the cameras, that covers it up here. Now to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and buy an iPhone 7? Should you buy an iPhone 13? And this is what I'll tell you. Without a doubt, if you have an iPhone 7, I would highly recommend you to go and upgrade to an iPhone 13. This is a very solid upgrade. Now, you can also upgrade to an iPhone 12 or iPhone 11 and still see a lot of the same, updates. But if we're talking between these two, this is miles and miles ahead of the iPhone 7. You're getting, first of all, a really good build quality, a newer design than the iPhone 7, wireless charging, MagSafe, better IP certification, better display, just so many things with the display, Face ID, which some people prefer. Newer design, like I mentioned, the flat sides feels way more premium with the glass back, way better camera setup on the iPhone 13 as well, and it's faster. I mean, it's just the overall way better upgrade and way better battery life as well between these two phones. Now with the 7, I still think this is a pretty solid phone. I don't think it's really horrible, but it is an outdated phone. I mean, within a year, this thing is going to be on its last leg if it's already not, and you're probably going to have to, this is the way I see it, either you update now or you probably update within like a year and a half from now. And if you can wait till next year, then go for it. But I mean, this is a very solid upgrade. I think between these two phones, the 7 to the 13 is an immense update for sure. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly, everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.